Bigfoot evidence emerges. Authorities decline to comment. Hikers aren't just reporting sightings anymore. They're finding twisted forest structures that appeared overnight, recording heavy footsteps that stop the moment they stop, and vanishing in the same remote corridors year after year. Search teams are noticing patterns they're not allowed to talk about. Videos keep disappearing. Audio files get pulled, and every time officials are asked for answers, the response is the same: no comment. The question isn't whether Bigfoot exists anymore. It's why the evidence keeps surfacing, and why the people meant to explain it have gone completely silent. Before we go any further, if this is your first time here, we'd love for you to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Your support means the world and helps us bring you even more powerful stories. Stick with us until the end, and if this mystery moves you, share your thoughts in the comments and pass it along to a friend. At first, it sounded like noise, the kind that lives on the edge of the internet and never quite goes away. A blurry photo here. A shaky clip there. Someone swearing they heard footsteps where no one should have been standing. Most people scrolled past it all with a half smile, maybe a quick wow, then moved on. Bigfoot had always lived in that space. Half joke, half campfire tradition. But then the timing started to line up. Late summer, early fall. Different states, different forests. Same kind of calls. Same uneasy tone. Hikers reporting structures that weren't there the week before. Hunters backing out of areas they'd worked for decades, saying the woods felt wrong. Not dangerous, just alert, like something had noticed them first. One ranger station in the Pacific Northwest logged 3 separate reports in a single week. Not sightings, not screams, just hikers coming in pale, hands shaking slightly as they filled out forms. One woman kept rubbing her forearm while she talked. A micro movement, almost unconscious. "I know what bears sound like," she said. This wasn't that. Behind her, 2 men leaned near a bulletin board, pretending not to listen. "Everybody's jumpy these days," one whispered. "Yeah," the other replied. Still, that's the 4th report this month. In Northern California, a volunteer trail crew found a cluster of saplings bent and woven together overnight. No rope. No cuts. Just pressure and leverage. Fresh. Too fresh. One of the crew members crouched beside it, fingers hovering inches from the bark, then pulled back like the thing might move. You think kids did this?" someone asked. No one answered. Photos circulated quietly at first, shared in small groups, then wider. Always the same pattern. Structures too deliberate to be wind, footprints too deep to be human, strides too long to explain away easily. Still, nothing definitive, nothing that would force belief. That's when the disappearances started whispering their way into the conversation. Not headlines. Not yet. Just names on local boards. A solo hiker overdue. A hunter who didn't check in. A search that turned up gear, neatly stacked, where it shouldn't have been. Every case had an explanation on paper. Exposure. Injury. Poor planning. But search and rescue volunteers began noticing overlap. Same remote corridors. Same elevation bands. Same weeks of the year. One SAR member, coffee cooling untouched beside him, leaned in and murmured to a colleague, "You ever notice how we keep getting called to the same ridges?" The colleague blinked, adjusted his sleeve, then shrugged. "Mountains don't move. People do." Still, the comment hung there. Audio recordings began surfacing next. Not screams. Not roars. Long, rhythmic knocks echoing through timber. Call and response patterns captured by hunters who'd set up recorders for wildlife surveys. The sounds didn't rush. They waited, like whatever made them understood pacing. Online, skepticism fought back hard. Fake. Soundboards. People want attention. Fair points. Reasonable, even. Until a former forestry contractor spoke up on a local radio segment, voice steady but cautious. "I'm not saying what it is," he said. "I'm saying what it's not. And it's not human work." The station cut to commercial, earlier than planned. In town diners and trailhead parking lots, the tone shifted. Conversations dropped when outsiders walked by. People talked sideways now, not directly. Like gossip passed behind a hand. "You hear they canceled that ranger Q&A?" "Yeah, no explanation." Strange timing, huh? Requests for comment started going unanswered. Emails bounced. Statements got shorter. Vague. No confirmed threat. No evidence of unusual activity. The same phrases repeated, smoothed down, until they meant almost nothing. Yet the reports kept coming. A hunter in Idaho described being followed, slowly, without ever seeing anything. He stopped walking just to listen. Whatever it was stopped too. When he turned, the forest looked normal again. Too normal. No birds. No wind. Just silence pressing in. He left his gear and didn't go back. By the end of the season, the question had shifted. Quietly. Subtly. It wasn't, "Is Bigfoot real?" anymore. It was, "Why does every official response sound rehearsed?" And why, when the evidence kept piling up, did the people paid to explain it suddenly have nothing left to say? By the time winter crept in, disbelief wasn't doing the heavy lifting anymore. Habit was. People still laughed, sure. It's easier that way. A quick joke, a shrug, move on. But beneath that surface calm, something else had started to spread. Quiet, cautious attention. Folks listened differently now. Paused longer before responding. Blinked, adjusted their sleeves. Checked tree lines when no one else was looking. The evidence didn't arrive all at once. It never does. It came in layers. A hunter in Montana uploaded a short clip, nothing flashy. Just a wide shot of a snow-covered clearing at dawn. The sound mattered more than the image. Heavy, deliberate footsteps crunching from right to left, then stopping. No animal crossed the frame. The hunter whispered, "Wassup?" And the audio cut. The video vanished 2 days later. The account went private. No explanation. In Oregon, a trail camera caught a tall, dark shape crossing behind a fallen log at night. Only 3 frames. Too blurry to prove anything. Too upright to ignore. Comment sections exploded. Then closed. The uploader claimed he'd been asked to take it down. Search and rescue teams felt it most. Off the record, they talked. Over stale coffee and damp gear. In parking lots after long days that turned up nothing but questions. One volunteer rubbed his hands together for warmth and muttered, "I don't like how often we're finding packs with no bodies." Another replied, eyes fixed on the tree line, "I don't like how clean some of these sites are." Not accusations. Observations. The structures kept appearing. Twisted branches stacked into arches. Teepee-like frames built with logs too heavy for casual hikers. Always away from main trails. Always close enough to be found, eventually. One forestry intern stared at a newly discovered formation, jaw tight, and said under her breath, "This wasn't made fast." Authorities were asked. Again. This time, the response wasn't dismissive. It was absent. Scheduled press briefings quietly disappeared from calendars. Rangers who'd once chatted freely now stuck to scripts so polished they felt slippery. No credible threat. No verified evidence. Please enjoy the outdoors responsibly. In one town hall meeting, a resident stood up, voice trembling just a little. "Why did you pull patrols from the North Ridge?" The official at the podium cleared his throat, shuffled papers, and replied, "Resource reallocation. No follow-up allowed." People noticed the tells. The way answers arrived late, the way questions were redirected, the way no one ever said no outright. At a small grocery store near a popular trail system, 2 locals whispered near the freezer aisle, "You think they know more than they're saying?" The other glanced toward the front windows. "You think they ever don't?" More recordings surfaced, knocks echoing through valleys and repeating patterns, separated by long pauses like listening intervals. A biologist tried to replicate the sounds with known animals. He couldn't. His report stalled in review. Funding redirected. Even skeptics shifted gears. One popular outdoor blogger posted a long thread titled, "I don't believe in Bigfoot, but..." He listed inconsistencies, gaps, patterns that didn't fit hoaxes. He ended with a sentence that felt heavier than belief. "Something is interacting with people out there." The thread went viral. Then it was buried. Meanwhile, families of missing hikers started asking questions that didn't have safe answers. why search zones were drawn the way they were, why certain areas were suddenly inaccessible, why helicopters circled but never landed. A mother clutched a photo at a press line, eyes red, and asked, "If there's nothing unusual, why does it feel like you're avoiding parts of the forest?" No response. The wilderness itself seemed to participate. Birdsong cut out abruptly in areas with fresh reports. Winds shifted without warning. Hunters described a pressure sensation, like being watched, not threatened, just measured. One man said it felt like standing under a spotlight you couldn't see. He stopped hunting after that. By spring, the narrative had flipped, not from myth to monster, from creature to cover-up. People weren't asking for proof anymore. They were asking for transparency. And the louder those requests got, the quieter official channels became. Silence stretched, thickened, took on shape. In the absence of answers, communities filled the gaps themselves. Maps were compared, dates aligned, sightings overlaid with missing person timelines. No single data point proved anything. Together, they suggested intention. Something was happening, and someone didn't want to name it. By the third year, the conversation had changed shape. Not louder, sharper. People stopped trying to convince each other. Belief didn't matter anymore. Proof didn't either, not in the way it used to. What mattered was behavior, patterns, absence, the negative space where answers should have been. Authorities still declined to comment. Every time, every outlet, every request, the phrase became a headline of its own. Repeated so often, it lost neutrality and gained weight. Decline to comment stopped sounding procedural. It started sounding deliberate. Independent researchers filled the vacuum, former wildlife biologists, retired rangers, SAR volunteers who'd aged out of official roles and no longer needed permission to speak carefully. They didn't claim monsters. They didn't sell fear. They just pointed at inconsistencies. Hands steady, voices tired. "This isn't about what people think they saw," one said quietly in a recorded interview. "It's about what keeps being managed." Managed. That word stuck. Trail closures without explanation. Data requests denied for public safety. Audio archives suddenly reclassified. One university team had a grant pulled mid-study after submitting preliminary findings that mentioned unknown large primate behavior. The paperwork cited scope drift. Online, people noticed which videos vanished fastest, which posts stayed up, which words triggered removals. It wasn't random. It never is. In small towns near major forest systems, locals adjusted routines. Kids stopped camping alone. Hunters paired up. Old-timers who'd spent decades laughing off legends stopped laughing. One man at a hardware store adjusted his cap and muttered, "I don't care what it is. I just want them to stop pretending nothing's there." Even skeptics felt the unease. A journalist who'd spent years debunking paranormal claims wrote a final piece before stepping away from the topic altogether. He didn't claim belief. He ended with this line, "In my career, I've never seen this level of coordinated non-response." That silence did more damage than any blurry footage ever could, because silence implies knowledge, and knowledge implies responsibility. The wilderness kept doing what it's always done, growing, shifting, reclaiming. Trees swallowed old trail markers. Rain erased footprints. Snow softened everything into sameness. Whatever moved through those spaces learned patience long before humans did. People still go missing. Not in waves, not dramatically. One at a time. Enough to notice, never enough to panic, officially. When families ask questions now, they're met with sympathy and protocol. Forms. Hotlines. Carefully chosen words. No mention of patterns. No acknowledgement of history. And yet, the evidence keeps emerging. Not proof. Evidence, the kind that accumulates quietly until ignoring it takes more effort than addressing it. Maybe Bigfoot is real. Maybe it isn't. But something in those forests has altered behavior. Human behavior. Policies. Patrols. Language. And when institutions built on explanation suddenly refuse to explain, the absence becomes its own answer. Because if there was truly nothing there, there'd be no reason to stay this quiet. And that's what keeps people up at night. Not the idea of a creature in the woods, but the growing certainty that someone, somewhere, knows exactly what's out there and has decided you don't need to. If this silence unsettles you, you're not imagining it. Subscribe for more real mysteries where the lack of answers speaks louder than proof, and comment below. What do you think authorities aren't telling us? Would you like me to help you adjust the pacing or tone of this script for a specific type of narration, such as a podcast or a documentary style?